Excellent. All right, so my name is Countess Carcass, and I'm a very, very reclusive and shy person. I avoid people as much as possible, and this is entirely new to me. So I'm overcoming a huge amount of anxiety just being here. So I'm just going to tell you a little bit about myself and my background and my obvious physical choices I've made in life. So here we go. So I'm almost 39 years old, and I've lived in Calgary most of my life. I grew up in Victoria and Vancouver for the ages of 12 to 19, and those were my formative years. Those years really mattered, and it was a really creative environment, but it was still pretty uptight and judgmental. So I did really well in school. I always got top marks in most of my classes. And in grade 8, I was even mistaken for a teacher by lots of the other students on the first day because I dressed like an adult, and I got a lot of grief from that because they were all embarrassed they'd mistaken me for a teacher, and I was pretty young. I always stood apart. As soon as my mom let me dress more how I wanted to, I got really creative, let my creative side take over. Lots of leather, chains, painted jackets, wild haircuts, crazy makeup. I stood out in every crowd. Crazy rumors went around about me, including things about necrophilia, and I embraced that infamy and incorporated it into my name. It is in my name. My middle name is Coitus. And I did change it. That's my legal name. I found people were way too easy to shock back then. I grew up in the early 90s, because I'm older. So I did everything I could think of to shock people. I found it fun and challenging, especially now everything's being done. It's really hard to shock people. It's really hard to be unique and original. The internet is out there. You've got access to so much. But it's still a challenge I enjoy, and I still succeed at it. My mom objected to everything. I was told I was portraying the wrong image, and people would think certain things about me. I wouldn't say she was wrong about what people thought about me, but I didn't care. I was going to be who I wanted to be. If it bothered people that I was who I was, and so much the better. Let them be bothered. I've ruined more than one person's day just by showing up. And if that's the case, then I'm glad. A lot of people don't even like having me there because they don't like the sight of me. More than anything, I want it to be a walking work of art, both on the outside in a visual way and on the inside as a unique and interesting and inspiring person. Sorry, I am pretty nervous. Okay, people made fun of me for being different, and in school insults were only thrown at my back from the safety of the crowd. The people who got in my face to pick on me the most were adult men, and they would throw things at me, and many times would try to actually pick a physical fight with me, sometimes to impress another girl. I'd be walking down the street, and they would get in my face and try to get into a fight with me, thinking it would impress another woman. And you know, I would say right to their faces, they look pretty stupid picking a fight with a teenage girl, because they would be in their 20s, they would be adults. But that's how it was, and in the early 90s, you still had to fight with people to be unique. People seemed to make it their mission to make the different people feel bad about themselves and conform. Why want a world full of people who are the same, though? What a terribly bland and predictable place that would be. Everybody's the same. I had some problems with my family, and I spent time away from home and on the streets, but things got resolved, and I did make peace with my family. And I did go back. And the streets were a rough place, but I also met lots of unique outcasts like myself, and I felt I needed to see the bleaker side of life in order to fully appreciate life and happiness. Joy is sweeter when you have suffered, and I chose to make my own life rough for a while in order to learn some appreciation in a personal way. There were times that I chose to suffer because I felt it made me a better person. I got my first tattoos while still in junior high school. I was the only person in school with tattoos. People were afraid of me, and I didn't even try to make friends. I found other people my age to be very naive and inexperienced in life, and by the time I got to high school, I felt really old. I was there to work and work only. I graduated in the top 5 of the whole school at the end of high school, and it shocked most people. I was continuously treated as though I was dumb because of how I dressed and looked, and I still get that. Every day, I still get treated like I'm stupid. I had problems with boyfriends. Most were adult men while I was still really young. Few were abusive, and most of it was mental, but some of it was physical. One guy, when I was 15 and he was 22, he used to hover over my shoulder every morning while I put my makeup on and tell me I was ugly, and I was only making myself uglier with the makeup. He told me I was doing it on purpose, and he told me every day how ugly I was. I really didn't care what other people thought of me, but people picked at me over the years, and it sinks in after a while. when many people go out of their way to tell you you're worthless for a long time. People in vehicles used to shout nasty things at me and throw things, and they would circle the block to come back and carry on some more, just because they need to make absolutely sure I know what a piece of crap I am. Sometimes they would come back a third time just to make their point clear, just to make sure that I really know I'm a piece of crap. I was extremely suicidally depressed, and I did speak to a counselor for a while. Taking something to stabilize my hormones was definitely the most helpful thing I did as a teenager, and that was birth control pills. And the depression and the mood swings were less severe, but they're still there. People have actually told me I'm crazy my whole life, like they're trying to hurt me with it. And they still do, definitely. And I've seen a psychiatrist, and I am just eccentric, creative, and hormonal. And even though I was really, really depressed, he considered me sane. So I would be considered sane by a professional, and that is for the record, because the question does come up. I've always deliberately gone out of my way to be as abnormal as possible. The abnormal should be embraced for its beautiful uniqueness, to be cultivated and cherished, and not corrected. Adulthood. I moved to Calgary just after I turned 19 and got my job at a medical laboratory right away, and I still work at the same lab 20 years later, and I'm in microbiology. I work the night shift. I love my job, I just don't fit in Calgary at all, and moving here depressed me profoundly. One of the aunts I was living with committed suicide several months after I got here. She was about 41, and her own hormonal changes caused quite a deep depression. She couldn't deal with life anymore. And I know how that feels. I got married for the first time at the age of 19 to somebody 15 years older than me, and we were very much mismatched and very unhappy. Obviously divorced. As soon as I divorced the first husband, I ended up with my second husband immediately after. I've never been single since I was 19. It was a deeply psychologically destructive situation to be in because I was trying really hard to make up for my first failed marriage. I was way too nice to the wrong person and ended up trapped in a bad situation with somebody who wouldn't leave for about 7 or 8 years. And that person really destroyed me a little bit at a time, and he left me quite a wreck. And during this marriage, my only female friend died of an overdose at the age of 23. And a few years later, my brother hung himself. Also, he was 23. And I never had a regular sleep schedule. I'd work day shift on one night, or one day, graveyard shift the next, switch to day again. And this went on continuously for 14 years. No regular sleep time ever. And my ex's influence was toxic. I could not grieve properly or sleep properly, and I kept telling him he needed to leave. But he refused, and others had to get involved. He was not going to leave without other people stepping in and saying, all right, you need to get out. And I was not free until the age of 31. And until then, I had no friends or social life, and had really mainly spent time in the company of my 2 ex-husbands. Because I worked at night a lot, I had no people skills, and my ex had left me a completely nervous wreck. When people talked to me, I would start shaking really badly, and I would sometimes fall down. And I had developed intense social anxiety, and it takes a massive effort to work up the guts to go out to any public place at all, especially to go out and dance in front of strangers like I started to do back then, and I still do now. But when I finally freed myself of my ex, I needed to dance and celebrate. I felt like a prisoner on death row who had suddenly been set free, and boy, did I dance. I was so shy, I could hardly speak to anyone, but when the music started, it was my therapy, and I became a whole new person. I used to go out on weeknights to avoid the crowds, and I would dance for the local musicians in a mostly empty room, sometimes entirely empty. And they would play like the room was full, and I would dance for my freedom and for everyone in the world who could not dance. People remembered me long before the wild tattoos, because even when the room was empty, I was a party all by myself, and they told me when I danced, I filled the room all by myself. And many people have told me that. I met my current husband, who's sitting right here, at this time, and he really saved me from myself and everyone else. I met his band and another local native band on the same night 8 years ago, and we all began performing together. We were all so much fun, and we were humorous and ridiculous. People came out to see us who didn't even like our music, but we brought a really positive and silly attitude, and everyone around us enjoyed us. Between us and the other band, we were our own little heavy metal circus. We put on quite a show. I tattooed my face around this time. Part of the reason was to help us be unique and remembered. Just part of the reason. But dealing with people was difficult, and the disrespectful, negative attitudes that some people carry ended up putting me off, and I quit performing in 2013 to get away from all the negativity and bad attitudes. And then the article about me came out around then, and I had this tiny taste of fame, and people were suddenly really nice to me, and it was really hard to get used to. My social anxieties got the best of me, and I went into hiding up until last year. And I actually had to make a big effort to come out. I was wondering if I was agoraphobic, and I had to actually force myself to come out and be a public person again. So that's my background. So anxieties, depression, and tattoos. I've been quite depressed and suicidal up until my brother died. When I experienced the kind of pain it causes, the family that remains behind, I made peace with my urge to cut my throat by tattooing the wound there. His death made me hurt so much, yet I couldn't be so selfish as to wish for my own death anymore. And I was in the habit of wishing for my own death. I didn't know what to do with myself. So I tattooed it. To deal with some of that pain, I got tattooed in some of the most painful places I could think of, starting with my head, sternum and genitals. Felt good to hurt on the outside when I hurt so much inside. And in the end, I got some art too. It was therapeutic and also temporarily distracted me from my inner turmoil. And I did hate myself, and I did want to hurt. But when the tattoo is all over, you're a new person, forever. You have dealt with internal pain, sometimes in some cases, and external pain, and you have a beautiful work of art that has changed your body and who you are forever. And if you go into it planning to come out as a better version of yourself, it is highly helpful and therapeutic. I did have a fear of needles, but somehow fear is easier to overcome when you hurt a lot inside. Your mind is on your internal pain, and the fear is forgotten and even welcomed. You care less about consequences too. There's less fear when you feel you just don't care anymore. I tattooed 2 black widow spiders representing my brother and best friend beside my ear with hourglasses showing, and they whisper to me that time is short. Live life now because it could end at any moment. It doesn't matter how old you are. The tattoo of the wound across my throat represents my desire to end my own life because I couldn't think of carrying it out anymore, and I made my peace. It represents the death of the old me, and my flies are here because I consider the old me to be dead, and I have started life freshly as the new version of myself, my new name, my new face, my new everything, my new outlook. There's no emotional pain, I'd wanted a tattoo on my face for a long time. I worked really hard at my job for over a decade, earning the respect of my employer over a long period of time. I realized I was stuck here in a city that doesn't suit my personality long term because of the excellence of my employment. It's a really awesome place to work. Every time I've looked anywhere else, the options are not better. I'm stuck, and it's not a bad reason to be trapped because your job is really that awesome, but it is. There's a reason I've been there 20 years. And I was so much more okay with being stuck here if I got the reward of being able to be the person I really wanted to be. So I tattooed my face. I knew what I could get away with, and as soon as I knew I could deal with hiding it with makeup for the day shifts, if necessary, I was ready for the lifestyle change. I wanted this tattoo. It belonged here. And I was in a comfortable enough position in life to actually have it done. And I was a professional, so there you go. There's no emotional pain connected to this one. It is here because I'm fun. I did it just because I could. And when people ask me why I did it, and I say I did it just because I could, they think I'm giving them a smart-ass answer. I'm not. I really mean it. Like, not many people are in a position in life where they can, even if they really want to. So I was in a professional job, and I wanted to be one of the first who would step into the future and wear who I am on my face while still retaining the respect of my employer. As part of me becoming the walking work of art I wanted to be. I make my wound look real sometimes with latex horror makeup. And I'm lazy. This way it takes away half the work because half of it's done. A lot of people have video game characters of themselves with facial tattoos now. There are lots of people who have a fantasy of seeing themselves in this way, and I have a lot of positive feedback, as well as the intensely negative. But the way I see it is, people have given me grief my whole life for being different, and I mostly tune them out, so a face tattoo would not change my life terribly much. I would deal with the hostility when I had to. And I do get hostility. One of the other main reasons I did it was because I wanted to ensure I was in my best reality, as the best version of myself with my best ultimate destiny. And in order to be sure I am my best self, that tattoo has to be here. And my name has to have changed as well. The longer I put off being the person I really wanted to be, the longer I would be stuck in my not quite ideal reality. So I changed my face and my name the first moment I knew how I wanted them changed. It's such a sad, stressful, and lonely life that I firmly made the decision not to be on that path anymore, and my face tattoo is part of pointing myself in a more positive direction. It represents a complementary balance between beauty and ugliness, because both are more beautiful together, and a balance between my masculine and feminine sides. I consider myself to be a very well-balanced, whole, well-rounded person. People do act a bit weird around me sometimes, and I do make them uncomfortable, where they don't know what to say to me. I have to remind myself sometimes, oh yeah, face tattoo. I heard people acting so weird, oh yeah, that. I'm trying to figure out what the hell their problem is. I do find it hard to make close friends, but I do have a few. And I'm putting a big effort into improving my people skills. Most judgmental people are from an older generation who still perceive tattoos as low class rather than beautiful art. I've been angrily scolded for making myself unemployable, and even when I've told these people I have a job, they would continue to angrily criticize me as though I don't. They only see things how they want to, no matter what I say. I've also been cornered and told that I am shit because I am obviously in a game. Again, no matter what I say. Once someone has decided I'm a certain thing, they can't see past it. They have made that decision and they are going to argue with me and not hear a damn thing that comes out of my mouth. I also attract a lot of the wrong kind of attention from the wrong kind of people. Unsavory types really like the face tattoo. Reminds them of prison. People have tried to grab me and drag me away a couple of times. People with psychological disturbances are pretty fascinated and they reach for my neck and my face. And I've had people keep men who are overly fascinated with me from following me off the train. Like, actually have to physically keep people from following me. So, tattoos in general. Over the years, the perception of tattoos have changed from a symbol of the lower class into the beautiful body art that it is, with a lot less judgment attached. 80-year-old ladies have proudly shown me their newest tattoo in line at the grocery store, and even my parents, who had disapproved in the beginning, both ended up with tattoos themselves. And in fact, I tattooed my own dad myself, and he objected so strongly in the beginning. It's a very interesting turn of events. Many people use tattoos as a way of dealing with painful events. But even though you have a permanent reminder on your body, it is also a way of putting things behind you. You have endured and overcome, and you can see your own strength in that finished product. It is not so much a hanging on to the past as putting it in your scrapbook of life and carrying on forward. Most people who start getting tattoos say they are addicted. Once you start to keep your body as a scrapbook of your life events, you never want to stop. Tattoos commemorate joy as well as pain, and life and love hurt. So many people see the tattoos they get through life as rites of passage, commemorating both the good and the bad with a little blood and pain, but a piece of art that lasts their whole life. And sometimes a tattoo is just a tattoo. They don't all have to have meaning. Many of mine are there just because I'm fun and silly. Some of mine are there because I needed to learn to do tattoos and I had to practice on myself, and sometimes I even didn't want a tattoo at the time, and it's like, you know what, I need to practice, so I just put whatever, wherever. So there's no meaning, just practice. Some of mine have been done by musicians I respect instead of an autograph. I offered them my body to try something they had never done before in life, tattooing on somebody. I offered the experience of doing a tattoo on me to a few lucky friends, and they look pretty rough, but they are special to me and the people who got to do them. Other therapy, creativity. Being creative goes a long way towards cultivating mental wellness. Even though my art and music crosses many lines, I do these things for myself and my own pleasure. I don't take myself seriously at all. Even if no one likes my music or art, they give me a way of getting things out of my system. I can be as weird and wild as I want, and even if nobody ever comes to my shows, I will still give myself the rock star lifestyle I've decided to cultivate, and I will be the person I want to be, even if the room is always empty. I'm still going to be out there rocking out like it's full. If you want to do or be something in life, just do it. Maybe you'll be successful, maybe not, but at least you did everything you could to have the full experience you wanted to have. So these are some positive words and some things I've learned in life. Life can be really difficult for everyone at times, and sometimes you need to suffer a bit before you can fully appreciate happiness and all the good things you have. Sometimes you need to hurt really bad first before you can truly experience joy. And sometimes you need to give up on life completely, start fresh as a whole new person, determined to be the best version of yourself. Continuously work to improve yourself. It's something we should all do our whole lives. Life is short, and live like you could die at any moment. Face the things that scare you the most. And this scares me quite a bit. Throw yourself into anything and everything as though you're quickly running out of time, because you never know. Decide right now that you are in your best reality and make it the truth. Lay your balls on the table and your guts on the floor and do the things you want to do and be the person you want to be, because you do only live once. Act like $1 million and you will feel like $1 million, but always maintain your humility. Never look down on other people. Success is not about being better than other people, it's about sharing it with everybody. And people's poor attitudes have made me leave the music scene. Those people don't get that. Be one of the magical people out there who makes people smile and think and dance. Be one of the people who affects everyone around themselves and shows the world that anything and everything is possible. Live each day like you just got released from death row, and each day of freedom is a glorious gift, because it really is. Appreciate the little things, because there's so many people in the world who have so much less. Dance at every opportunity, even if there's no music. Be determined to have fun always, no matter what, even if the room is empty and even if you're all alone. Dance like the world is about to end, and each remaining moment is to be cherished spectacularly. Dance for everyone who can't, and the room will always be full. I dance at bus stops, I dance at the train station, I dance walking down the street. I almost hopped off the doctor's office table and started dancing to the clock ticking the other day. You can always dance, and everybody can dance. Embrace the unique and the original and the abnormal. Even if it's not what you're into, appreciate uniqueness just because it's rare in such a busy and crowded world. And say yes as much as possible to ideas and experiences. Try everything once and have the fullest life experience you can. You never know what you might like or be good at. You never know what kind of surprises lay around the corner. You'll find more opportunities present themselves when you become a yes type of person. Anything and everything is possible, and make that your reality. And of course, create. Art, music, craft, whatever you're into, you change the universe when you create. Forever. And the most important thing of all, rip out your heart and hand it to someone. Hand it to many someones, hand it to everybody. Even if you aren't comfortable hearing it, tell the people who are important to you that you love them, because one day you may not get the chance anymore. Everyone needs to hear that they matter. Even if no one ever says it to you, be one of the people that gives love freely. And it hurts to be this way sometimes, because I'm this way, but the world needs it. People out there who feel the need to cut others down in order to feel better about themselves can rot in their own toxicity. They're stuck being themselves, and that is their tragedy. I stand for everyone who is different and out of place, who is lonely, sad, and struggles each day to cope, and who has been hurt by love in the whole cruel world. You're not alone. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak.